No conventional Jujutsu sorcerer exists without a curse technique. In fact, a curse technique can be said to define a sorcerer's power and their potential, and it makes the difference between characters like Gojo and Momo. Curse techniques are more than often the decisive factor in battles between Jujutsu sorcerers. Despite the overwhelming number of curse techniques that we've encountered so far within Jujutsu Kaisen, they remain still a captivating source of mystery within the series. In this video, I'm going to be uncovering everything that there is to know about curse techniques. I'll be exploring the different variations of curse techniques, as well as discussing why these supposedly exclusive abilities might not be as unique as they seem. Stick around until the very end of this video, as I'll be delving deeper into the truth behind curse techniques, and how Gege's method of creating and executing curse techniques are fundamentally tied to the soul of a Jujutsu sorcerer. So without further delay, here is my video explaining everything that there is to know about curse techniques. Let's begin by defining what exactly curse techniques are. These are abilities that are inherent to a sorcerer and are activated by using cursed energy. Essentially, they are mathematical formulas that take shape when infused with cursed energy. Just as 2 + 2 will always equal 4, curse techniques will always retain their specific abilities and they cannot transform into something else on a whim. Curse techniques are as much a matter of the body as they are of the soul. Despite their seemingly supernatural nature, the equation for a curse technique takes physical form within the brain of a Jujutsu sorcerer, specifically in the right prefrontal cortex. This means that any damage to a sorcerer's brain can be catastrophic, potentially spelling their doom. Furthermore, curse techniques place a direct strain on this part of the brain, and it poses a real risk of brain damage to the sorcerer. Healing brain damage with reverse curse technique is a highly complex skill that only very few sorcerers can master. Currently, only the top tier sorcerers like Sukuna and Gojo have been able to successfully restore their burned out curse techniques. However, this process is not without its limitations. It involves essentially destroying and rebuilding the brain by using cursed energy, and it places immense pressure on the prefrontal cortex and can even be fatal if it's done incorrectly. Therefore, once a curse technique is burned out, it is generally advisable to wait out the cooldown period rather than forcing it back into action. This brings us to the question of how curse techniques function. There are two primary methods of activation. They are lapse and reversal. The lapse process is essentially the basic activation method for a curse technique. For example, when you see Megumi use the 10 Shadows technique or Inumaki utilize his cursed speech, you've witnessed the lapse process in action. The basic form of every curse technique relies on the lapse process for activation. This involves circulating cursed energy in a forward direction in order to initiate the curse technique. It is important not to confuse this lapse process with the curse technique called lapse, which is used by the Gojo clan. The latter is a distinct power that enhances the lapse process of the inherited curse technique, and it operates differently from the general lapse process used for activating other curse techniques. The second method is the reversal process, which is more complex. This involves creating positive energy by multiplying inherently negative energy with itself. Just as multiplying two negatives yields a positive number, multiplying cursed energy by itself results in positive energy. Think of it like this: if cursed techniques are equations brought to life with cursed energy, then those equations should be able to operate in reverse. This concept underpins the reversal process, and it explains why Gojo's technique Blue and Red are opposite in their operation. Blue is activated by lapse, while Red is activated through reversal. In the story's later stages, the reversal process has proven exceptionally useful, especially for using the reverse curse technique. This technique employs positive cursed energy in order to heal or regenerate damaged body tissue and even limbs. Positive cursed energy is also a significant threat to cursed spirits, as they are composed entirely of negative cursed energy. The effect of positive cursed energy on them is as harmful as Quincy energy energy is to hollows in Bleach. There is a common trend between the different activation methods for cursed energy, and it is the art of subtraction. This skill allows a sorcerer to reduce the preparation time needed in order to cast a Jujutsu spell. Originally, Jujutsu had a more ritualistic aspect which had involved dances, stances, and incantations in order to support the activation of a curse technique. Given the fast-paced nature of battles within Jujutsu Kaisen, there's hardly any time for a sorcerer to perform elaborate rituals before using their techniques. Over time, sorcerers have learned to simplify these activation methods by removing these time-consuming preparation acts. This means that a Jujutsu sorcerer's effectiveness is often measured by their ability to achieve the most with the least amount of effort. While these subtractions speed up the casting time, there still remains a significant power difference between these sped up spells and those that include all the necessary stances and chants. Think of Kido spells from Bleach for a clearer picture of this, with exceptional Kido masters like Urahara and Aizen not even requiring to do a Kido incantation in order to fire off powerful Kido spells. In summary, the lapse process grants a sorcerer access to their primary arsenal, while the reversal process allows them to use new variations of their curse techniques as well as enabling them to heal themselves. Now that we understand how curse techniques are activated, let's explore some of the types of curse techniques that we've encountered so far. The first and perhaps the most common type of curse technique is the innate technique. These abilities are exclusive to each sorcerer, developing within their soul and body as they grow in their Jujutsu practice. Examples of innate curse techniques include Nanami's ratio technique, Mahito's idol transfiguration, and almost every other curse technique used by characters outside of the three major Jujutsu clans. Innate techniques manifest in a variety of different ways, offering a vast array of possible abilities ranging from soul manipulation as well as elemental control as seen with Jogo and Uraume to more niche skills like Todo's Boogie Woogie or Nobara's Straw Doll technique. The possibilities are virtually endless, thus making innate techniques a versatile addition to Jujutsu Kaisen's power system, which tends to have stricter principles in other areas. Innate curse techniques account for nearly 90% of the abilities that we see within the story. They are unique in their manifestations, with no two techniques ever being exactly the same, even if they originate from the same type of cursed energy. For instance, although both Sukuna and Yuji possess the Shrine curse technique, their abilities manifest in distinctly different ways. This individuality makes innate curse techniques the ultimate expression of a sorcerer's uniqueness. However, there does appear to be one exception to the exclusivity of these curse techniques, and it's that they can be replicated under certain circumstances. Throughout the video, I frequently mentioned the soul and the body, but I haven't fully explained the roles that they play in acquiring curse techniques. In the Jujutsu Kaisen universe, it is almost impossible to separate the body from the soul. This isn't because they don't exist separately, but because there's plenty of evidence to the contrary. For example, Yuji's curse technique allows him to directly attack souls, and Mahito's idol transfiguration allows him to manipulate souls. However, you'll notice that these abilities also have direct effects on the body. It's as if it's impossible to touch the soul without affecting the body and vice versa. This confusion is clarified when we learn from Kenjaku that the body and the soul are actually one and the same. The first piece of evidence supporting this idea is the incident with Toji's body. Despite only summoning Toji's body, it completely overwhelmed the soul of the sorcerer whose body was used as the host for Granny Ogami's summoning. Toji himself states that his body is so special that it can override the soul of the sorcerer whose body he was inhabiting. This suggests that the body and the soul are linked and cannot be separated, and they function as one entity. From what we have observed, when two souls intermingle, they always seem to imprint on each other in some way. This can lead to sharing jujutsu skills and experience, and even transferring exclusive curse techniques between the souls. In the case of Yuji and Sukuna, not only did Sukuna's high-level jujutsu muscle memory imprint upon Yuji's soul, but it had allowed him to use jujutsu at a similar level. Additionally, Sukuna's shrine technique had also become accessible to him. This idea is is further reinforced by the training methods used by the Jujutsu squad, where they employed Ui Ui's Jujutsu in order to swap souls and then trained in each other's bodies, thus imprinting their respective skills onto each other. A more evident example is Kenjaku, who has been able to steal multiple innate curse techniques by body jumping. Since curse techniques are engraved on the body, possessing another body allows a sorcerer to use its curse techniques. However, there is a limit to how many curse techniques Kenjaku can maintain simultaneously. He is limited to about 3 or 4 curse techniques because any more would put undue pressure on his brain. This limitation isn't exclusive to Kenjaku, as it is implied that this is the maximum number of curse techniques that a human brain can handle without collapsing. Yuta bypasses this rule because Rita often bears the burden of using multiple curse techniques at once. Yuta is another example of this body-soul dynamic, as he was able to gain access to Sukuna's curse technique by consuming one of his fingers. While in this case it's more about meeting his curse technique's requirement, it still serves as a credible evidence of this principle. When we consider all of this, it seems like Kenjaku's revelation about the soul and the body being one and the same is accurate. It makes one wonder how powerful Megumi could become if he awakens and separates from Sukuna. Sukuna has used a much higher level of Jujutsu within Megumi's body than he did with Yuji, and he has been exposed to his cursed energy for a considerable amount of time. If Gege decides to explore this route, it could lead to an extremely interesting outcome. To sum up what we know about innate curse techniques, they are incredibly diverse abilities with almost no limitations on how they can manifest. These techniques can be copied if the user's soul melds with another's, or if their bodies are possessed by somebody else. Sorcerers can also gain other sorcerers' innate curse techniques by consuming a part of their bodies. Innate curse techniques are a sorcerer's greatest weapon in battle, and they perfectly illustrate their significance. Since these techniques are exclusively tied to a sorcerer and vary individually, they offer a distinct advantage over inherited curse techniques. The uniqueness of each innate technique means that opponents are less likely to know about them or how they function, thus making it difficult for them to prepare adequate countermeasures. But of course, like I've just said, the same cannot be said about the inherited curse techniques, which we are about to discuss next. Inherited curse techniques are specific abilities passed down through certain clans, or they are possessed exclusively by clan members. Examples include the 10 Shadows technique, Limitless, blood manipulation, projection sorcery, and cursed speech. These techniques often retain the same applications, and rarely do we see innovations of these techniques as they have already reached their maximum potential centuries ago. Inherited curse techniques function similarly to innate curse techniques, as they are regulated and controlled by the left prefrontal cortex. However, they are not as easily attained as innate techniques. For instance, Yuji gains the blood manipulation, a technique exclusive to the Kamo family, but this is after consuming the Death Womb paintings. In contrast, Chozo is a human curse hybrid, and he is Kamo's son, and he naturally possesses the ability. Yuji's case is an anomaly, thus it makes it hard to generalize how inherited curse techniques manifest. Additionally, Sukuna demonstrated the ability to use the 10 Shadows technique at a higher level than Megumi after possessing his body. This suggests that inherited curse techniques can also be acquired through the merging of souls. There are only 2 inherited techniques that we have seen that cannot be replicated by any means. The first is projection sorcery, which, let's be honest, doesn't seem to garner much interest, as it doesn't add much value, making it less desirable to steal. However, the other technique, which is the Limitless, is a completely different story. Limitless is an immensely valuable curse technique, and it's arguably the best in all of Jujutsu Kaisen. Its usage is intricately tied to the 6 eyes, thus making it impossible to share or replicate without this specific trait. We don't know if the 6 eyes would function with another soul in the same body, but it's certain that Kenjaku's body possession wouldn't work, as these 6 eyes would cease to function immediately, thus rendering the body incapable of using Limitless. When comparing inherited and innate curse techniques, each has its own set of advantages and disadvantages. Innate curse techniques benefit from obscurity, thus making them difficult to prepare against, since opponents have no idea what they're up against. This This unpredictability reduces the chances of facing an enemy who has prepared a counter to the technique. In contrast, inherited curse techniques, due to their long-standing history, are well known among sorcerers. Their intricacies and limitations are common knowledge, thus making it easier for opponents to prepare and counter against them. This widespread knowledge is why Gojo was ultimately defeated, and Sukuna could devise a long-term plan to counter his technique. And the same goes for Toji, who had nearly killed Gojo by using the inverted spear of heaven. Extension techniques, as the name suggests, are expansions of a curse technique's fundamental ability. While the main power of a curse technique remains unchanged, these extensions allow sorcerers to utilize their abilities in more creative and diverse ways as they grow in power. Examples include the various techniques that we've seen executed with blood manipulation, such as Flowing Red Scale, Gojo's 3 core offensive techniques which are blue, red and purple, and the numerous applications of Mahito's idol transfiguration. Extension techniques can be developed by users of both innate and inherited curse techniques. This is where inherited curse techniques often have a significant advantage. Blood manipulation is a prime example, as it showcases a wide range of applications from support and first aid to stat enhancements and outright offense. This versatility is due to the accumulated knowledge passed down through generations of users. Extension techniques are essential for any sorcerer, not only for the versatility that they add to their arsenal, but also because they lay the groundwork for the creation of maximum techniques. Maximum techniques represent the peak of a sorcerer's cursed abilities, and they are second to only domain expansions. They fully embody the ultimate potential of a cursed technique, often serving as the most powerful attacks a sorcerer can wield. Geto's Uzumaki is a prime example of a maximum technique, demonstrating its true nature. Geto's cursed technique, Cursed Spirit Manipulation, allows Uzumaki to condense all the cursed spirits that he possesses into one massive ball of cursed energy, and he can unleash this like a devastating energy blast. Additionally, Uzumaki enables him to retain the cursed techniques of grade 1 or higher cursed spirits even after using them, thus maximizing the potential of his arsenal. Despite the immense power of maximum techniques, very few sorcerers in the story can actually use them. Most sorcerers can only achieve what is known as maximum output, which involves channeling the greatest amount of cursed energy possible into their extension techniques. While the terms might sound similar, maximum output simply refers to the enhanced use of an extension technique with an increased energy flow, thus creating a significantly more powerful version of the original technique. This can be applied to any technique activated through either lapse or reversal process, allowing sorcerers to amplify nearly every ability in their arsenal. However, like maximum techniques, maximum output is also a rare skill that is seldom seen in action. I'm sure that you've noticed that there's still one category of curse techniques that I have yet to discuss, and these are the non-exclusive class. These techniques are neither tied to a specific sorcerer nor are they inherited within a family. Instead, they are abilities that virtually any sorcerer can and should be able to learn, though the capacity to master these techniques often depends on the individual's skill level. Non-exclusive curse techniques include barrier techniques, secret arts known by the 3 big Jujutsu families, and anti-domain techniques. Starting with barrier techniques, as the name suggests, these involve using complex Jujutsu formulas in order to create barriers around specific areas, and these barriers serve various functions, from creating veils that conceal Jujutsu activities from civilians to forming the core skill necessary for domain expansions. Despite their importance, only a few sorcerers are proficient in using them. Even highly skilled sorcerers like Nanami and Kusakabe lack the expertise needed to create domains. However, there is a way for sorcerers like Kusakabe to contend with domain expansions, and this perfectly leads us to anti-domain techniques. Anti-domain techniques are essential for sorcerers who cannot create their own domains but need to defend against them. These techniques are specifically designed to counter and neutralize the advantages that domain expansions provide. Mastering anti-domain techniques can level the playing field, allowing sorcerers to effectively combat opponents who can use domain expansions. In addition to barrier and anti-domain techniques, there are also secret arts that are passed down through the 3 big Jujutsu families. These arts encompass a range of powerful and versatile abilities that can be learned and utilized by sorcerers outside of the family, provided that they have the skill and opportunity to acquire this knowledge. By mastering these non-exclusive curse techniques, sorcerers can significantly enhance their capabilities and better prepare themselves for various combat scenarios, thus making them indispensable tools in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen. These curse techniques serve to bridge the gap between sorcerers who have mastered barrier techniques to the point of opening domains, in contrast to those who have not. They include techniques like the Simple Domain, which creates a small field of cursed energy that is capable of counteracting the sure hit effects of enemy domains. Another example is the Hollow Wicker Basket, which negates the barrier of a domain, effectively nullifying the sure hit effect and preventing any damage that the domain could inflict. This creates an effect similar to how domains ignore Maki after her full heavenly restriction awakening. Additionally, there is Domain Amplification, a technique that sorcerers use to temporarily cancel the curse techniques of their targets. This method was notably used by Sukuna to bypass Gojo's Infinity when it was still active. Furthermore, members of the big 3 families in Jujutsu Kaisen possess their own exclusive anti-domain technique called the Falling Blossom Emotion. This technique counters a domain's sure hit attack by releasing equivalent cursed energy at the moment of impact. These high-level anti-domain techniques are critical in battles between sorcerers, as they can neutralize the overwhelming advantages that domain expansions can provide. Well, hopefully this is everything that there is to know about curse techniques covered. If there's anything that I've forgotten to mention, then definitely let me know by leaving a comment under this video, and as always, let me know your thoughts on the power system of Jujutsu Kaisen and how curse techniques function. I look forward to seeing all of you continue the discussion in the comments, and lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I cannot wait to see you in my next Jujutsu Kaisen Explained video. If you enjoy my content, then you can support my channel through Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or even through YouTube by becoming a channel member. You will gain access to exclusive channel perks and a Discord server which I frequently use. So become a member of my Zero Division and be the first to know about my upcoming videos. And once again, thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.